Hey everybody, welcome to Vigilant Citizen. My name is Josh. Thanks for joining me. You can see it's starting to get cold out here. Leaves are changing colors and it's overcast and I hate it. I miss the sunshine already. I am not happy that it is gone. Sun's hanging low in the sky. I keep saying that because it just keeps irritating me. Today's drink of choice is coffee. It's like noon that I'm recording this, but it's cold, so I want some more coffee. I haven't decided if I want to keep doing this out here. I got another room set up that might do well, but it could get pretty echoey, so I want to be careful with that. So throughout the winter, you might see me out here when it's snowy, and I'm all bundled up, because that's kind of fun too. So, couple things, little housekeeping items real quick. Thanks for those of you who just subscribed recently. I hope you're finding the conversation valuable and meaningful and you're getting some decent takeaways. I appreciate that you're spending some time just watching what I have to say, watching these videos and listening to what I have to say, even when I say dumb stuff like that. I appreciate it, and I appreciate that that you want to join the conversation and you're finding something about it useful. So welcome to the club. Got a couple comments too. Michael from the Don't Follow Blindly episode, he made a point about put your points out when you're talking to somebody else, when you're discussing with somebody, put your points out with as little empathy as possible. And I think I understand what he means there. I think it's a good point, that you shouldn't be emotionally tied to your argument. You should maintain some distance. Jarvis, settle. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. It's barking at something. We got a trail right over here, and sometimes horses go by and people are on bikes and stuff. Jarvis, come here. So I apologize. That's the beauty, the intrigue of being outside with my dogs. So, but anyway, Michael was saying show as little as empathy as possible. I think that means kind of maintain some of that disconnect, so that you're not emotionally tied to it, so that you're not. You don't have much of anything to lose. He says, put your point out there, get it across, but then tell the other person, like, hey, but you do you. That's as far as I'm taking it. I think that's a really good point. Don't get emotionally invested in the outcome that, whether or not they take your advice, right? Put it out there. They can do with it as they please. Kind of like I'm doing here. So I appreciate the comment there. It's kind of borderline stoicism, I think you're talking about. So that's pretty cool. Bill said that my advice for getting promoted was pretty good advice. He thinks I should wear the glasses all the time. At least I think that's word for word what he said. Josh, you look great in those glasses. Wear them all the time. Thanks, Bill. But he mentions that maybe having some more concrete advice is useful, and I kind of like that idea. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go into some more concrete advice, another 5 tips. I thought it was pretty fun putting those together. So I kind of like keeping them high level sometimes because they can apply. But yeah, how do you take those ideas back and how do you apply them in your own life? I remember going to church as a kid and hearing the pastor say stuff like, you should live a Christ-like life. But then, well, how do I do that? What does it actually look like, right? So I don't want to keep it too ambiguous or too vague. If I have some ideas, maybe it's incumbent on me to share them with you in a way that you can actually take those ideas and apply them directly to your life so that you reap the immediate benefits and rewards. So without further ado, I said that right this time. Today's topic is some ideas I have on how to improve your mental well-being, your mental state. And some of these ideas are going to be new. I've talked about them here before. So I'll go through them pretty quickly. I don't think I need to dive too deeply into them. I'll give a brief justification for why I think these are good ideas and why I think it might help your mental state. I think today we have so many things just crushing down on us from so many different avenues. If you live in Pennsylvania, you're hearing news from New York City, you're hearing news from San Francisco, from Minneapolis, from Florida, from Texas, and you're just getting all these different conflicting things about what's happening in the world, and in the world too, right? I just mentioned the USA there, but you might be hearing about stuff in Milan, Italy, you might be hearing about stuff in Lagos, right? So how do you sort of filter through all that and make sure that that your mental state isn't getting tied up into all of the different pressures that are just bearing down on us in our modern/postmodern society, that's constantly threatening to put your mind at unease and disrupt the way that you're thinking and the way that you're living your life. So, okay, I said without further ado. I said that correctly, but then I had further ado. So now, without further ado, thanks for your patience. Number 1 on my list of 5 things that you can do starting today to improve your mental state. Number 1, dump social media, right? That was my first, I think it was my first video on here, right? So go back and watch that one. I'm sure I'm stuttering a little bit more and stammering because it was my very first one. But I think it's important to dump social media to a point, because I understand there are some people who need it for business. That's how you market yourself. Sometimes that's what you're using to, it's like the new Craigslist with Facebook Marketplace, I think it's called. See, I don't even have it anymore. So I understand if in some sense you're tied to it. So what I'm really talking about is the endless scrolling in which you are reading what other people are up to and you are comparing your life to theirs. You're comparing your life to, what's the saying? You're comparing your life to their highlight reel. And you're also seeing celebrities and stuff, and that's all they do is market themselves. They're just all obsessed with status and making sure they're at the top of that status, and they have more money than you, so just don't even try to compete, right? That's really what I'm getting at. Also, reduce your internet interactions with other people. These are people who, again, if you're living in Pittsburgh, who cares what somebody in Atlanta thinks about you? Who cares? Who cares? What are they going to do to you? What could their opinion possibly mean? So reduce your interactions with other people online. That will help you foster a sense of community locally with people who you actually interact with, and you'll seek to build those relationships better. I'm not saying that's what you should do right now. I'm saying that is a consequence of removing social media and internet and reducing internet interactions. That will just naturally come from it. You will find that you will start to engage with people more proactively and on a more healthy level if you take steps to reduce your internet interactions. Okay, number 2, this kind of ties right into what I was saying a moment ago about seeing what's going on across the country or across the world. Just turn off the news. Just turn off all forms of mainstream news. They are lying to you. They will not stop lying to you. Whenever I turn it on, well, I never do, but whenever I'm exposed to it, if I'm at somebody's house or I'm at the airport or something, and I see, some of the big ones like CNN or Fox News or ABC or whatever, I can't believe what they're saying. They are portraying a completely different world than the one we're living in, and they've probably been doing it for a very long time. I used to watch the news. My parents watched the news, so as a kid I would just be exposed to it, see it on a daily basis. Once I got into college, I sort of dropped off because I was, growing up with the internet. That's where I was getting some of my news. But just seeing the lies that they're spouting and the tactics they're using to try to control you through fear. It's all fear. If I were watching the news all the time, I would have been incapable of making my Don't Live in Fear YouTube video, or my video, right? It's not just YouTube, because I'd be living in it. People who are watching the news and believing everything that the news is saying have no chance. They have no chance to live in any other state than perpetual fear. And in some sense, I pity them because they're being fed spoon-fed lies all the time. So turn that off. Get that out of your life. It is doing you no good because it is trying to get you to be scared of everything so that you'll either buy their products, watch their shows more, see their marketing, whatever. It's not worth your time. It's awful. It's one of the worst things, I think, in our current postmodern society. It's all just propaganda. And I'm not going to get political on here. I'm not going to say who's making propaganda. You can say whatever you want about who's propagandizing what. I don't care. It's as bad for you. Don't live in fear. Turn off the news. Maybe that should have been number 1. They're not experts. They're liars. Okay. Number 3, this is slightly related, but different. In a sense, stop watching TV. Specifically postmodern TV shows and entertainment, because they also all have a message that they're trying to get across. I stopped watching TV shows maybe 4 or 5 years ago, or new movies. My wife and I used to go and see movies in the theater all the time. We'd go to like one a week or one every couple weeks. We went all the time. And then something changed. I started to realize that, first of all, I was no longer their target audience. They were no longer being made for me. And that's okay. Not everything has to be marketed to me, but I'd like to see stuff that is, because that's what I want to see. And on another point, though, on another layer, I started to get the sense that they actually hated me, that they thought I was stupid, they resented me, and these movies and TV shows were designed to insult me and my intelligence and, frankly, some of my immutable characteristics. So these are just right in line with the news. They could even be working together to some extent with government, whatever. I'm sounding conspiratorial here, but lately, after the last year and a half, the difference between a conspiracy and the truth is about 6 months. So we're living in crazy times. Stop watching things that are making it crazier and making you crazier. The people who make these shows hate you. The people who do the news hate you. Don't give them your time. They're not worth it. Okay, number 4, this one should probably, these aren't in any particular order, right? This could be number 1 and probably should be. I wrote down get fit, but really start working out, getting that blood pumping, getting it moving through your body, improving your cardiovascular system, getting more blood to your brain. You'll have less times that you're experiencing brain fog. You'll find your words faster, better. You can tell when I haven't worked out in a while on here because I tend to struggle to find the right words, right? But not much is better for you than actually being physically active. So much of our life today is sedentary, and that was true of like back in the 70s, 80s. That's when it started getting, but it's gotten to such a horrible point where kids are growing up thinking, I want to be a YouTube personality influencer thing. That's what I want to do with my life. Well, guess what? You're not going to make it. Right? It's like being another celebrity. There's only room for so few, and plus they're trash anyway. Most of them are trash, and I shouldn't make a blanket statement like that, because I mean that's what I'm not trying to become an influencer here. I'm just getting my message out for people who will listen. So I'm not interested in getting millions and millions of subscribers and views. That's not what I'm going for here. So spend the time to actually get off the screen, get away from, if you can, get away from a career that involves you just sitting all day. Even if you're in an office environment, you might be going from meeting to meeting. That's better than just sitting in a corner all day. So get fit, go to the gym. If you're a guy, especially lift weights. That'll boost your testosterone, right? And that'll make you feel better. That's an entirely different topic. Maybe I'll talk about that one day, testosterone. But get fit, get that blood pumping, do martial arts, go to the gym, lift weights, go for a run, do push-ups in the morning, whatever. But just keep your body in good shape. And then the 5th and final tip I have for improving your mental state fairly quickly is to find a hobby. And I don't necessarily mean a hobby like I'm going to be a gamer, right? I'm thinking more of a hobby that requires work with your hands and work in sort of the real world, in which you're interacting with the real world or with real people, right? Not over the internet, because that would just be contra to what I said a moment ago about reducing your online interactions. So, for example, playing guitar, that's one of mine. If you like frisbee golf, find some friends to play frisbee golf. A book club, whatever. Start reading books. Get with other people who are like-minded and talk about books. Anything like gardening, right? Cooking, right? Some of these sound like they could be one gender or another, but I actually tend to enjoy things like cooking. Gardening, not so much. But cooking can be pretty fun. So go and try something like that out. But find a hobby that involves, learning and getting to know new people and getting to understand the world a little bit better, and it's kind of how things work a little bit better, and especially if you're using your hands, especially if you have a job that doesn't require that. So maybe try to find a hobby that complements your work, and by complement I mean it's like completely different. Right? But obviously I'm not going to put too much of a barrier on that or try to box it in. Just get a hobby that that really helps you understand the world and get to know people a little bit better. So, okay, so much for me being brief. Those were 5 tips. Dump social media, turn off the news, turn off the TV, get fit and get a hobby. Yeah, I'm either approaching or past 15 minutes already, so brief. Apparently I have a different idea of what that means. So thank you all for listening. Let me know what you think of these ideas. Post them in the comments below. Make sure you check out my Rumble channel. I might have some videos coming up that are going to be Rumble only. I was thinking about starting a locals page, but it sounds like Rumble is acquiring locals and they're just going to use the same platform or something. So I think I'll stick with that one for now, for YouTube and Rumble, and have Rumble be my more free speech topics that YouTube is not likely to appreciate because, as Eric said, they're fascists. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time. Oops. I guess I hit record. What do you think, boys? Should we just do it? Should we just go for it? Seems good enough.